Zerocool podcast. Welcome out. Happy Sunday, everyone. Big shout to Randon the Padusa. He picked up the fact that we didn't have any audio. So if you were joining us early and you saw my lips moving, but nothing was coming out of it, it's because we were having some audio issues. Randon still might be a little drunk from being at the game earlier today. So I wasn't drinking. He swears he wasn't drinking. He was just hitting that electric lettuce in the fucking parking lot. Anyway, listen, shout out to the Milwaukee Bucks on getting it done today against the Brooklyn Nets. What else did we have going on today? There's something else I had in my notes. I forgot.
Brewers won today, right?
Brewers won today, I think 5-2. Joining us on the podcast, finally, all the way from Chicago, Illinois. Chicago Nick is in the building. If you are unfamiliar, he is the guy who I constantly plug on this podcast as being the dudes of everything you need to know when it comes to personal fitness and dieting. You can check him out at Shadow Personal Training, 2618 Halstead, Chicago, Illinois. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us today, Chicago Nick.
I don't know what to do with my hands. No, I'm kidding. Awesome, man. I'm glad I'm here. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you could make it. You were able to watch the fights last night?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. That great. Was and I took a page out of when we ordered the last Poirier-McGregor fight. I was of that group that sat there for 30 minutes refreshing to try to log in. So I bought it on Monday. I'm like, I am not missing this fight because I guess people couldn't log into the Mayweather-Logan Paul thing too. Yeah, because they bought it an hour before and the pay-per-view that overloaded. I don't know. Buying this early, getting it done. Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. They had said people that were trying to buy it as it was coming on air, they weren't expecting that much of a flood of people coming in or trying to buy it at once, and it crashed their servers. There was a lot of weird stuff that happened with that one. Number one, the fact that there's a YouTuber that fought arguably one of the greatest defensive boxers of all time was just absolutely insane. And I know we had talked about this earlier in the week. There was a lot of people chirping about the fact that Logan Paul had received so much money, and so had Floyd Mayweather in this fight. I think it was Francis Ngannou. Yeah, I tweeted out. I sent it over to you. I don't even know if I still have it.
I think he said something like Logan Paul makes 20 mil and we make something like that. It was some of the effect of he wasn't happy that someone who is not a professional fighter by any stretch of the imagination made a king's ransom of money while he made I think $700K for the Stipe fight plus whatever it was.
Yeah, I think with that, I don't know how his contract's set up. Usually for those higher end guys, it's usually a $250,000 to show and another $250,000 to win. And then when they win, they usually get a better contract. I don't know the details of it, but I'll say one of the former welterweight champions, I think, was getting $500,000 to show and $500,000 to win.
Sure.
And then he finished out his contract in the exact same way after he was champion. I know a lot of guys that have left the UFC. Well, I mean, personally, I work with a lot of these guys that have personally left the UFC and gone on to other organizations and gotten extremely lucrative contracts. Corey Anderson recently tweeted out that his his last fight in the light heavyweight tournament, he had made more money in that one fight than his entire time at the UFC.
Ever. Yeah.
There is a huge discrepancy in that. I will say this, in the UFC's favor, there is a lot that they have. They have the UFC Performance Institution. They have one in Vegas, and I believe they have one in China now as well, where they're developing talent around the world. Also, they take care of a lot of fighters. So, for example, we'll say there's a fighter that I know really well as well. She might be my girlfriend that had torn, had a double labrum tear. And after her fight on the Contender Series, the UFC picked up the bill for that. So it's one of those that there's a lot that those guys do as far as taking care of them.
Sure.
There's also stuff that they give to the fighters as well. I know another fighter, when his daughter was born, Dana cut him a check for $40K and was like, hey, put this away for her college fund, whatever. There's a lot that they do behind the scenes, but as far as revenue sharing goes, there needs to be something that's out there that helps these fighters make more money. With the fact that they have this Platinum and Reebok deal, I think some of that cuts into the sponsorship money that these guys can get. Like when this first changed, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago, Aldo was really upset, and reasonably so. He had about $100,000 in sponsorships for every time that he fought that he was missing out on. So you go from 100,000 to the way that pyramid was set up between 20 and 40K that he got. So he was missing out on 60,000, which, for a guy like Aldo isn't really a lot because he was making a ton of money, but at the same time, it's still a lot of money to lose out on 60K every time you're fighting. Where was I going with this? I remember where I was going now. I get Francis Ngannou's point on the fact that they're not making enough money. And we were looking at the numbers before we went on air that, the revenue sharing that they have for the UFC is between 10 to 15%, which means the other 85% is going in Dana and the Fertitta's pockets.
Or WMA, whatever it is.
Yeah. But also, I'll also point out the fact that one of the highest paying guys or highest paid guys in the UFC is Conor McGregor.
Right.
It's estimated that when he fought Poirier, he made $25 million. On top of the fact that he was, I can't confirm this. I remember someone mentioned it. I don't know if the UFC was paid for it, but to get Conor to fight over in Abu Dhabi during the Fight Island series, either the UFC took more money or Conor took more money to do that and make it happen because they wanted Conor to fight over there. And then he fought Poirier. He's one of the highest paid guys in the UFC, and it's because of the fact that he's a household name. Like, for example, I think it was my grandma. My grandma had brought up to me, she's like, oh, are you doing the fights thing this weekend? And I was like, yeah, why? And this is back when they fought in January. She's like, oh, I heard that Conor's fighting. That's my grandma.
Yeah.
That's how much of a household name he is.
Sure.
To Ngannou's argument that UFC fighters need to get paid more, yes, I think they should all be paid more. I think none of them make nearly enough money. Going into a cage, fighting people, risking your livelihood, risking everything, your long-term health, your metabolism from cutting weight.
Sure, for sure.
These guys should be making as much money as possible. But if you're not a household name, do you really deserve $25 million when you step in? And what's the proper amount of money that someone like Ngannou gets paid? Someone like a Derek Lewis gets paid? Someone, anyone in that top 5 of any division, what do these guys get paid? I agree that you are what you are marketed. If you're able to, let's say, for example, if you're able to get to a Conor McGregor status and have everyone know your name, you should get paid really well. Otherwise, you can obviously take your talents elsewhere and go do boxing. But where do you go as far as a guy like Francis Ngannou, who's a killer, but not everyone knows his name? Taking out Stipe like that, I don't think anyone realizes how hard it is to put that guy down. And Ngannou did it. And did it in one of the ugliest knockouts I've ever seen in my life, where you fall back on your own leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got where to go with that.
Yeah, that was a lot.
No, that's all good. I mean, so okay, like I told you before, like I was looking at this when we talked about revenue sharing briefly. Like baseball after the strike, famously, I know because being a White Sox fan, the White Sox had a good shot of winning the title the year before that with the strike. In '96, new collective bargaining gave baseball revenue sharing. In the NBA, they got it in 2012. The NFL got it. Actually, I think I found that. Like I think with the last TV deal, 2014, I think actually was like the bigger one. I could be wrong about some of these numbers, but like the NFL was founded in 1920, the NBA in 1946, and baseball in 1869. So these leagues, writ large, market their stars city by city. By being a fight promotion, the UFC has taken that and made it a pay-per-view model.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I enjoy watching Joanne Calderwood fight last night, or Bilal Muhammad, or Damian Maia, no one's going to buy 800,000 million pay-per-views if Damian Maia is the headliner. If the top card, say, for instance, for argument's sake, Izzy got COVID, Figueroa didn't make weight, and Nate Diaz got too high and didn't wake up in the morning. I don't know, whatever. And the main fight was Bilal Muhammad against Damian Maia. No disrespect to either of those guys. They can both beat my life into the next universe. But what would that sell? People would be at the gate knocking it down.
Yeah.
And all those other organizations, the NBA have not necessarily a union, they have like a players association. NFL has a union. Baseball has a union. And I'm not saying the union's the way to go, but because these fighters, to your point as well, are they're not putting a ball in a net. They're not hitting a puck into a net. They're not hitting a ball over a fence. They're throwing bones at each other. And does that merit more money? I'd like to say yeah. But at what point in time is like guys like Nick Lentz and Ryan Hall, who are names to you and me, but your grandmas know who those people are.
Yeah.
And do they deserve $1 million a year? Hell yeah, they do, man. They do something that no way I could do that. The issue is that when you have a stable of fighters that's 500 people deep, like the NBA has that many people, no one's tuning in to watch the defensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. They're coming in to watch Patrick Mahomes. So like Mahomes makes $40 million a year. The tackle makes $1 million.
Yeah.
So the difference there is not. It's different. The tackle's still making $1 million, but the guy's on his first contract with the UFC is making $1,000, and then Conor's making $20,000. So the difference is still there, league to league. It's just that overall, the majority of the fighters, I think I'm correct on this, are making below what we would call a livable wage per fight, i.e., say $50K to win, $50K to show, whatever it is. And the win bonus that's a whole different conversation because you're getting paid. If you lose your money. In baseball, if you strike out, they don't take your check away.
Yeah.
It's like
someone broke down the math. There was a YouTube video that was on it, and they had said most people's starting UFC contract is 10 to show, 10 to win.
Okay.
So you take into account gym fees. Your gym takes probably 10%. We'll just, for argument's sake, we'll do 10%.
Make them round numbers.
You're paying your manager another 10%. So that's 25% of your paycheck that's already gone to
$4K gone already.
To your gym, to your management, and then I think UFC covers your pre-medical. So it's like when you got to get MRI, CT, get your head CT, get your physical, so on and so forth. I think the UFC reimburses you for that, but on a regional scene, you have to get all that done out of your own pocket. So you're already seeing 25 to 30% of your check going away. Now, on top of that, you still have to win. Now, if you win, you still got to take money out of that extra 10K that you get that you won, hoping that you got maybe some sort of bonus. We'll just take the bonus out of the equation. So 20K when you won.
Uncle Sam as well.
Plus you got to pay taxes on that. And the UFC usually guarantees about 3 fights a year on your contract. That's their end of the deal.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're obligated to pay you for not fighting. So after all that, between paying taxes, paying your management, paying your gym fees, someone did the math and said that the average low-rank first contract fighter makes around $27,000 a year.
There you go.
And now this is, we'll use this as an example. If you're watching the fights, spoiler alert, tune out. I don't want to hear any fucking complaints on YouTube like, oh man, I was going to watch the fights.
It was on ESPN, get bent.
Up until you said so-and-so won. Tune out now. Tune in another time. We're going to go over a little bit of UFC 263. Now, if you're a guy like Hill last night, the opening card on the main event, fought Paul Craig. Yeah, exactly.
God.
The man had his arm hyperextended, and then on top of that, got put into a triangle and was eating elbows from the bottom from Paul Craig as his arm is flopping in the wind. I don't know what contract Hill is on.
Yeah.
But the fact that he had his arm broken, he's going to be laid up for at least 6 months. Well, it's a minimum 6-month medical suspension plus whatever time he has.
They popped it back in the back. They said Well, so like after.
Do you see that? Do you see that?
Yeah,
My
yeah.
skin just fucking crawled hearing that.
Yeah, so he dislocated his ulna, so underneath there. That's if you watch the fight, when they're raising the hands, he can't even stand up there. You see a big bulge.
Yeah, it was
on the
in
inside
the
of his
elbow.
arm. So when he had him armbarred out, he twisted his arm over the top and it popped. And you and I had the discussion whether or not we weren't sure if he tapped. I thought he did. Like he was pointing to something, saying, "Hey, my arm is no longer attached to my elbow."
Well, Paul had looked up at the ref. By the way, shout out to Chris Nine Toes, his fiance Bobby, Cassidy, who's been on this podcast twice, 2 or 3 times now at this point. All came and watched the fights with us over at Brothers. We were talking about this, and it looked like he had tapped as he was rolling with the arm bar. And all of a sudden, Paul literally takes his arm and it's going the opposite direction. And Paul looks up at the ref and goes, "I just broke his arm."
Yeah.
And the ref never stopped it. And to Paul Craig's defense, I will say this, the ref didn't pull him off of him, so he kept going, which is the right thing to do, but at the same time, like, that's a hard place to be when you knowingly broke someone's arm. It goes back to when Tony Ferguson got his arm hyperextended by Oliveira.
That guy's too tough for his own good, though.
Yeah. You look at guys like this who have had injuries like this, and I can easily make an argument. Chris Weidman on the previous pay-per-view who shattered his tibia.
Jacare, he popped his arm same pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I think it's not like a gunshot going off when his arm busted.
You have these injuries that are happening to these fighters, and yeah, the UFC's taking care of their medical, but there's a possibility that Hill may not fight the same way he used to after this injury, that there isn't anything that's out there to protect these fighters long term. What's the answer to that? I don't know. There isn't a group of fighters that are rallying together. And it's tough because of the fact, you look at the fact that this is an individual sport. We all say it's a team sport, that we all work together as a team, but at the end of the day, it's an individual sport.
True,
a lot of people look out for themselves. It's weird to see someone like Logan Paul, someone like Jake Paul, who are the guys who are kind of out there fucking with Dana and the Fertittas saying, we're nobodies. We're making... Jake Paul. That's the one that fought Askren, right?
Yeah, Jake did, yeah.
Jake made like $110 million for knocking Askren.
Much?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Well, they had over 1 million pay-per-view buys, but they also might be inflating their numbers. There's a lot of BS.
But say it was a mill. It doesn't matter. It's still a million pay-per-view buys.
Yeah.
Regardless.
So let's say he took $1 on, $10 on every single one of those, He's still going to the bank. Fucking Askren got one of his biggest paydays ever. Now he's going to fight Tyron Woodley. And I heard that and I was like,
yeah.
The even crazier part about that is the fact that Tyron is the underdog going into this fight.
Yeah, I think he's like, I want to say he's plus 250 or something like that.
And I was like, that can't be right, man. Like, number one, I've seen Tyron train. When he was training for Kamaru Usman, he was over by us training. And a lot of what he did was his boxing. And the dude's crisp. And then on top of that,
he's a wild card training fighter.
I was going to say, he trains over at Wild Card too. He's been over there for a while. I mean, the dude's a total package. He's a wrestler. He's a martial artist. He can do taekwondo. Fuck, don't make...
He had a cameo in Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah, he did. Well, he had been an act. By the way, probably one of the funniest things ever was Paul had joined the gym, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago. And it was neat because every morning when I went in there, I'd see him because he was staying at the gym at the time. And Dan Gonzalez had introduced me to him, and he had asked, he was like, I'm looking for someone to write my music for. He was fighting in Scotland, I think.
I remember that, yeah.
And Dan had introduced me to him because he was like, oh, we have a DJ that produces music. You should talk to Parker. So I get introduced to him. We're shooting the shit. And he's like, yeah, he's giving me the layout of what he wants. He's like, yeah, I kind of want this like airy Celtic music. And then he's like, I want to go into shipping up to Boston. I was able to find the stems for shipping up to Boston.
Okay.
So like we do this real airy Celtic like music where it's like,
that,
and then all of a sudden just it comes to a slow fade, and all of a sudden you hear the and I dubbed over the drums, and the drums just crash in. And I told Paul, I was like, hey man, I was like, I listened to this on a pretty good sound system. I want to know when you do your fight. I was like, how does it sound when it comes in on the speakers? Because I wanted to know like how hard it hit. He goes, dude, there was such a pop when he's like the banjo's playing and everyone's kind of hearing it, and all of a sudden it crashes in. He's like, and the crowd just erupted. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
But how the hell did I start talking about Paul Felder?
Tyron Woodley, and then boxing, and then Paul Felder, theater
music,
and acting, and
so the really cool part,
Compton.
the really cool part about the Paul Felder thing was I didn't know Paul that well at the time. I didn't know he was into acting, and we were at McGillicuddy's. Dan Hicks and I were after hours cleaning. We're after hours cleaning with drinks in our hands. And the TV's on, and it's on like FX, and Always Sunny in Philadelphia comes on. And I was like, oh, is this a new one? Dude, turn the audio on. So we're watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia on the upstairs at like 3:30 in the morning at McGillicuddy's. And all of a sudden, Paul's in the episode. It was the Crow's Milk episode.
I've never seen the episode. I've never seen the show, man. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I know.
I'll show you the part afterwards. And it's a hilarious one, but at the same time, like Paul's in it, and I'm literally like, I'm looking at Dan Hicks. I was like, I just wrote music for that guy. I was like, that's fucking crazy. Nice. I was like, he's training in our gym right now. I was like, that's crazy. But, yeah, all those guys, like the fact that Paul had to stay at our gym when he came out there shows that these guys don't make nearly enough. Like now he's to the point where he's got a great broadcasting contract.
Right.
He had an amazing contract with the UFC after the fact. But I mean, that was a guy who was already a couple years into his career, and he still wasn't making what he should be making. Arguably, one of the toughest 155ers out there.
Yeah.
Cut 30 pounds to fight RDA on
with
6
no
days'
excuses.
notice. No excuses. And called other people out. People had missed weight.
Rightfully so, though.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. You have one job, man.
Make weight.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, shit, dude. All those guys should make more money. Like I said, going back to what I was saying before, what's the correct answer? Is it collective bargaining? Is it a fighters union? There was rumbling about it in the past.
Yeah.
GSP, TJ Dillashaw.
I remember that. Cowboy got in there.
Cowboy, they all kind of got together, and then all of a sudden, it's crazy. GSP got this title opportunity to come out of retirement, fight Bisping, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, all that momentum kind of died out after he came back in.
I think what happened was two things there. Well, number one, GSP was an Under Armour athlete. So Reebok had to pay them off to get him on there because Reebok sponsored the UFC. Mm-hmm. That was A. And B, I think one of the big issues with the lack of a union is that the ownership is also the promotion. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, like if you see like Floyd Mayweather fighting Manny Pacquiao for the WBA welterweight title from Mayweather Promotions, and Bob Arum Promotions, Top Rank, they're promoting the fight, but the WBA is a governing organization of that. So that's where I won't go down that rabbit hole. But that's how Floyd made his money. He never had a promoter. He never signed with Don King or Golden Boy or Bob Arum. He was always his own guy, Eddie Hearn. Mm-hmm. He was just Floyd Mayweather by Mayweather Productions. So he ran the whole show. That was his genius behind his business. So when it came to that, there's a split. So the promotion can argue on behalf of the fighter, etc. But Dana White is the promoter for his company. That's where it gets deeper and deeper and deeper down the pike here, is because sure you want to have a union, collective bargaining, I get it, but like your boss is also your promoter. Mm-hmm. So if you piss off the man, maybe you won't get on that card. You'll be on a fight night in, who gives a shit, Kansas, instead of on UFC 264. So, and I remember there's like a small rumbling of him and Cowboy being best buddies, and Cowboy being up on the stage with Tim Kennedy and Nate Marquardt and all this other kind of stuff. And it was like, were you going against me? And then he ran away. It's like, so, and then you want to back the whole thing up. UFC is what, 30 years old, 20 years old, 25,
93. Yeah,
30 years old. So I think and then it's became the mainstream. I'd say obviously inarguably after Tough One, so 15 years ago, 16 maybe. I mean, I remember going into. Here's a story for you. in Arlington Heights, where I was at this point in time, we had moved there from Chicago. I was like 14 at the time. My dad and I went to Family Video. You know, the big Friday night. You went down to the video store. You pray to God that video was behind the cover of like Terminator 2. And you got Terminator 2. And, oh my God, we got the got the VHS. I wanted him to get me UFC 1 and 2 on VHS so I can watch it. We couldn't find it anywhere. So we asked the guy at the front counter, "Hey, do you have the UFC VHS?" He goes, "Yeah, it's in the back room." He goes, "What?" So my dad had to walk in the porno room with like the cowboy doors and the beads down there. He's like, he looks at me, he goes, "You better fucking like this." So my dad had to walk back into the porno room and come out with 2 fight videos for me. We came home and I was like, "Oh God, it's awesome watching Hoist Gracie and like Tank Abbott and all those guys like fighting UFC 1 and 2 and Ken Shamrock and all those other guys." It was awesome. So yeah. He goes, "Don't tell your goddamn mom what I fucking did in there." So yeah, that was my first induction to UFC. Was my dad going to a porno room? Obviously, I didn't know what it was. I was 13. I knew it's just an adult section. I just figured it was rated R movies. I had no idea. But yeah, he had to go in there to get the tapes for me.
I remember, man, I was like 5 or 6. We grew up. Well, when I first we first lived in Greenfield. My mom was going to school. I remember there was like kind of like a Family Video down the street from where we lived, and I remember seeing the swinging cowboy doors and whatnot, and the beads. But I was so young and so short at the time that like I would just walk and like I would never scrape my head on those swinging doors.
Oh, God.
So like I just walked in and was just like, where the hell am I? Like not paying attention to what's going on. And I just remember like an arm coming, grabbing me by the back of the shirt and dragging me out and being like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I don't know where."
Yeah, where's the He-Man video?
Yeah, but I totally remember that. And that's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
That UFC 1, I watched it again like a couple of summers ago, and it was crazy. That first fight was a sumo wrestler versus a kickboxer, and I think the kickboxer knocked out the sumo guy's tooth. There was a guy who fought. There was a boxer that fought with a glove because he was concerned about.
He had the one glove. He had the one glove.
And I never understood it. And I heard the story behind it a couple of years later.
I'll think of his name in a minute. I don't remember his name, but yeah, he had one glove.
I could probably pull it up in a minute.
And then Ken Shamrock had the wrestling shoes on and his hands taped up. I remember that. Yeah, it was great.
And then he fought Hoist Gracie in the finals.
Yeah.
And that was crazy. You know, going back to that, you look at that and you're like, dude, fucking Hoist came out in a fucking gi.
Him in a gi, yeah. He fought in the gi. A couple guys did, but yeah, he was the main one.
Yeah, came out in the gi, and I was like, I look back on that now, and I'm like, you put a horse collar and everything else around you to be able to fucking be grabbed and shit like that. And it's crazy because of the fact that like, I don't know if Ken and I don't think anyone knew to like just grab that gi and being like, oh, if you're in my guard, like I might be able to cross choke you.
Anything.
I might be able to do,
it's a lever.
Yeah. And then years later, you don't see it. Like, I think, GSP was the only guy that ever came to the ring with it, or came to the octagon.
He ran out in his karate guy. Because he was a Kyokushin guy. Yeah.
But yeah, you do that now and trying to wear a gi in the octagon, you just get fucking grabbed up and tuned up. Yeah, you just grab the lapel and just left hand them all day.
Let them go flying.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was to track that back. That was a gnarly little dislocation last night.
Oh yeah,
but the rest of that card was, I mean, it was nothing shocked me except for your boy is now the first ever Mexican-born champion in the UFC.
Yeah, shout out to Brandon Moreno, the new flyweight champion. That was crazy. Here's the thing, Figueroa. We'll go over the card in a second. Once again, spoilers. Tune the fuck out if you don't want to hear it, man. Figueroa, he's gotten off to slow starts in the past.
No, I saw in the corner.
And it was just...
It wasn't there.
He wasn't there. No, I think he was tuned out. He was trying to force himself to go through. And you know what? The thing is, fighters have these nights, man. Yeah. They're checked out. They don't want to be there.
I guess he had problems making weight, too, though.
Yeah, and that's...
He made it with like 4 minutes to spare.
Yeah, if you got a bad weight cut, that's not ever good. No. It wears on you. It wears on you mentally. But yeah, Moreno looked good. It was great because of the fact I was watching. I got chills watching. You see him crying. He's got the belt. Joe Rogan's trying to talk to him. And he's still got his mouthpiece in.
Yeah.
And Joe's like, take your mouthpiece out, buddy. Let's hear from you. And, first Mexican-born champion. First, I think he was on the tough version of Mexican or Mexico.
Latin America.
Latin America. Yeah. Awesome by him. What else was going on? Leon Edwards Diaz. That wasn't
Exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it was a brawl. We had a bet going at Brothers. What was the over under of when Diaz would start bleeding? We had 2.5 rounds, which was on point.
Yeah. That elbow from the guard when Leon was in his guard.
Yeah, he got opened up twice, right above his eye.
Yeah.
And then right on the side of the head. That one on the side of the head was pretty big, but it wasn't leaking all that bad, which I was pretty surprised about. Shout out to the cut man being able to keep that under control for the entire fight. He was getting tuned up pretty well. I think going into the third, he had a nice mouse under his left eye.
Yeah, it was on the cut.
Yeah, it was right here, and then he had a cut right above the eyebrow, and then he had another one on the side of the head. And then he's getting his ass kicked for 4 rounds, and then the last 90 seconds,
one goes through.
He was going 1-2. The 2 goes through, and stuns Leon. And he's moving backwards, and Diaz is just trying to close the show. Diaz getting his ass kicked for 23 minutes, and then all of a sudden tries to close the show in the last 90 seconds. Is part of the reason why Diaz is such a draw, man. Diaz is not that dude that went out trying to be marketable. I mean, at one point he was cut from the UFC. I might have to take that back. I might have to walk that back.
I never did.
I thought he was I think it was Nick that got cut.
Nick was cut. Yeah,
Nick was cut for smoking weed, and then
3 years.
Well, this was early on in his career, so he was cut, and then they ended up re-signing him again. He had won a fight against somebody, and then his post-fight drug test, he tested positive for THC, and it was like there was a threshold of what was something like 10 times. And
that meant he was high during the fight.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what the argument was.
Right.
And I wish I knew who the heck he fought. They ended up cutting him after it because of the fact that it was a drug violation. And I think he went and fought in Pride, and then they brought him back when Pride got bought, he got bought back on with the roster, and then that's how they ended up keeping him. But both the Diaz brothers, those are dudes that they're not out there like a Connor. They just talk shit, dude. They talk shit, and they're all fucking hard to beat.
But Nate asked for that to be 5 rounds. It's the first time it's ever happened that it wasn't a title and it wasn't a main event. It wasn't a fight. It was the only fight ever to be 5 rounds that wasn't a main event or a title fight. Because I mean, that's the fight against Jorge was 3 rounds, and people were saying
that was a 5-rounder, but
that was 3.
He went down in the 4th.
And the Masvidal fight?
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
Was that the main event of that fight?
Yeah, that was the MSG one. Because remember, it was supposed to be Diaz Poirier.
Then what was the fight that I'm thinking of? That was he went 3 rounds, and who did he fight before Masvidal? Was the fight before that
Anthony?
Yeah, but he won that fight.
He won that one. It was a 3-rounder.
Yeah, there was some. I could have sworn Masvidal was 3 rounds that he was complaining that people were like saying that it should have gone 5 because he only gets started in the later rounds.
It was the medical stoppage because his
the cut. Yeah.
So it went from coming out of the 3rd round.
Never mind, I was wrong.
Coming out of the 3rd, going into the 4th. I'm trying to pull up Sheer Dog right now. Here we go.
That's a little thing.
Well, it's the only place I can really find all the information I need. So yeah, medical stoppage. Oh, fuck you with this continue to share dog. They get so mad about my ad blockers. Let's see. November 2nd, 2019. Medical stoppage. TKO stoppage. Mergliata. Yeah, so it was 3rd round going into the 4th. It was a medical stoppage. Cool. And then before that, he fought Anthony. Won. Before that, fought Connor. Fought Connor again. Michael Johnson before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. He's fought RDA. Lost to RDA. Yeah, before Connor and Michael Johnson, his last win was Gray Maynard. Thompson beat him. Benson Henderson beat him.
Yes. But that was at lightweight, though.
Yeah.
Then he moved up for a Connor once they didn't go back down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good fight though. I mean, like you said, 23 minutes of pain, then 2 minutes of glory, but I think 49-46 was a pretty accurate call for Edwards. That wasn't it's no one wants to fight that guy. Now he's all but guaranteed a title shot after I think Colby and Kamaru's gonna fight again, and then
and I think he's gonna fight whoever. Which now look at Diaz. I'm sorry, I hope that burp didn't come through. You look at Diaz though. Where does he go? I mean, he's got
Conor still there.
He's got the Conor trilogy that he can do. You know what? Come to think of it though, I would do if Diaz is doing 155 again, I would do him and Ferguson.
Okay,
I think that'd be a banger.
Tony's not getting a title shot ever again. That ship sailed.
Here's the thing: if they're not gonna get title shots, who the fuck cares? Give them fights that people want to see.
Freaking Bam Bam's fighting Greg Hardy.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, it's little easy with Tuivasa against Greg Hardy, and then I think it's in the next. It might be in the next pay per view actually.
Oh, that'll be a banger.
Yeah. So I mean, this and Bam Bam wasn't. I think I'm not sure if he's still ranked top 15, but at one point in time he was top 10.
Yeah.
And now he's fighting Greg Hardy. So whatever.
They're still giving him a push. I mean, him being a former NFL player it's what helps him a lot.
Yeah.
Moving back to Diaz, I mean, I would say if he's going to 155, give him Tony Ferguson. You have the potential of doing another Conor fight. If you're gonna do that Conor fight, you definitely want to do that at 155. What else is there? You could do Jorge again, Diaz too
for the BMF .2 or that dumb thing is.
You could, I mean, potentially you could do that. I mean, everyone had the argument but here's the thing though. Nate was getting his ass kicked that entire fight.
Oh yeah.
It
wasn't a fight.
Yeah. You want to do that one, you could. I think that'd be kind of a money grab, but I would say taking a look at Poirier Conor. Conor loses. I do Conor Diaz. They're both coming off of L's. Let him do the trilogy. Let him make some money. I think everyone would tune in for that. But again, you do that one at 155 instead of 170.
But do you want to stay that? Do you want to take Conor that direction for the money grab, or do you want to have Conor Chandler?
I would do Chandler.
If Conor beats Poirier.
No, I would do Conor. I'm sorry. If
Chandler Gaethje, just regardless.
Yeah, I want to see that one. I want to see that one. I think that'd be a scrap because they're both dangerous with their hands and they're both phenomenal.
So wrestlers. You're saying like Conor Poirier would be like a title contender for the next thing for DuBronx.
Yeah, I would say whoever wins that, have him fight Oliveira because that was the option that Poirier had. Poirier could have either fought McGregor. Or he could fight.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
he could fight the winner of Chandler or Oliveira.
Yeah.
So fuck it. You go. Let's say hypothetically Poirier wins. You go Oliveira, Poirier, and then you go. All right, Diaz, McGregor. Let's do this trilogy. You get an automatic pay-per-view right there. We don't have to worry about doing a title shot on it.
No.
And shit like that. So you go. Cool. There you go. Maybe do that for the next International Fight Week. Have everyone come out to Vegas. Have that. Hopefully that international crowd coming back. In 2022. There you go. Maybe.
Yeah.
The last one I was going to bring up was Stylebender. That was a boring fight.
Yeah, I'm not lying to you. I went to bed after the fourth round. I was like, I'm done. It was just you want to see more, but then you realize like we all know how good Izzy's anti-wrestling is, but then like he swept Vettori twice from the ground. I was like, okay, so he's taking some no-gi classes. But beyond that, he was just picking his shots. He was kind of laughing at him. It wasn't really, you've seen like it was the Adesanya train, just that rocket ship took off. And Vittori's more like a slow, steady. He's improved. I mean, his fight against Hermanson was great. Since then, he's had a couple good wins. When the Adesanya train went to the roof. I mean, he improved every fight from the Gaslam fight on. It's been the Izzy show, and I guess he fights Whitaker again. That wasn't even a fight though. He knocked his block off the last fight.
Whitaker's been looking really good. As far as Izzy Whitaker goes, do it again. I mean, he's the number one contender. He's been looking strong. Do I see it going any differently? Not really.
No.
But, I mean, anything can happen. Anything can happen. I know Adesanya had kind of rallied for that one being... I'm not in Fiji. New Zealand.
Yeah.
He's rallying for that one. I don't know what the rules are for all that for international travel and whatnot.
Cool. It's also confusing.
Yeah, so maybe not, but I mean it'd be great to, if you're gonna do an international fight, have those two guys do it over there. I would totally do that. As far as anyone in that division, anyone else for Stylebender, I don't really have an answer. And as far as the rest of the card goes, by the way, shout out to Bilal. I don't know what happened at the end of that. At the end of the fight, I don't know if ABC, ESPN ran out of time. I don't think they were trying to. They were trying to shut him down because obviously he's Palestinian and everything that's going on overseas right now. I don't think they were purposely trying to mute him or anything like that. I think just due to broadcasting, they just ran out of time and they weren't able to do his post-fight interview. Hopefully he can. He's able to get on a platform and bring attention to what's going on. He's been one of the biggest supporters for finding for settling all that stuff over there between Israel and Palestine. And he's got a podcast as well. You check him out. He talks about it on there, and hopefully he'll be able to shed a little more light on it. But super proud of him. Former Rufus Sport guy. He's training mostly in Chicago now. But yeah, great fight. I was really hoping to see him finish Maya. But he had amazing takedown in the division.
Period. Great balance on his one, the single leg. He fought the single leg 1,000 times, and I think it was like 27 takedown attempts, landed 2.
Yeah,
that's
the real funny part was I was laughing and I turned around to Cassidy and I was like, I wonder if Damian had heard Paul Felder, because Paul Felder obviously trained with Bilal through Rufus Sport.
Sure.
But he goes, you're not going to take Bilal down with a single leg. You're going to have to switch to a double. And then all of a sudden you see Damian Maya switch to a double. And I was like, Paul, you're close enough for him to fucking hear you, bro.
But maybe, yeah.
Maybe, but yeah.
With no crowd, probably, for sure.
Yeah.
With the crowd, who knows?
Yeah, I wasn't sure, but it was funny. It was just like he switched to a double leg just as he said it. And I was like, Paul, shut the fuck up, dude. Stop giving away the secrets. Amazing card, 263. Shout out to, I forgot his name, and I didn't pull up the notes on it. You have a Ukrainian welterweight champion over in Bellator now. Douglas Lima lost in Bellator on Friday night. I watched that last night finally just because I was DJing out in Okachi Lake on Friday. Shout out to the guys from Hideaway. Those guys were partying their asses off. Shout out to Nathan Potter. I didn't realize he was working there. Shout out to Scott Cron and the whole crew over there. I had a blast there Friday night. Looking forward to doing it again next month as well. What else did I have going on? I think that was it as far as the fights go.
Yeah.
Anything else that stuck out for you outside of the fact that Hill got his arm broken? Joanne Calderwood looked crispy.
Hey, Lauren Murphy, man, 5-fight win streak. Unfortunately, she has to run into the Kyrgyzstani buzzsaw, Tiger Muay Thai's very own Valentina Shevchenko, who I think is the pound-for-pound best fighter on the planet. Her fight IQ is to a level that's terrifying. I mean, she grew up with her sister kicking trees in the friggin' forest, man.
Yeah.
Those people are different. They're different kind of hard. So it doesn't matter who this is another division where she's the queen. It's like, good luck.
Yeah, I saw Valentina fight. The pictures just came up the other day. Shout out to our good friend Lindsay. We went to the UFC Chicago card 2 or 3 years ago, and that was when Valentina just fucking stretched Jessica Ai. That rear leg head kick that literally skipped off her head.
It wasn't a fight. It's like at 125 she locked in. It's the queen.
There's I don't see anyone in that. No. It's weird because we say this now and then a year or two from now it changes. But you said the same thing with Joanna Jędrzejczyk. At 115, there wasn't anyone that you saw that was the answer for her. And then along comes little Rose Namajunas, fucking finishes her. And then fights her again. I think they went to a decision the second time.
I don't remember.
I might.
But she still won, though.
Still won. And then loses to Andrade. Mm-hmm. Andrade uses to Zhang Wei Li, thank you. And then she goes on a tear.
Yeah.
She beats Joanna. Well, arguably one of the best, not best female fights, one of the best fights of all time.
The first minute was chaos.
Yeah.
Just unbridled chaos.
And then Zhang Wei loses via switch kick to fucking Rose.
Yeah.
Rose wins it back. So you take a look at these divisions. There are the people are on top. I don't see anyone that can compete with Valentina, whether it's striking. I mean, we just learned in her last fight she's a really good grappler.
She's very good.
Yeah, has amazing top control. Who? I don't see anyone that can beat her right now. And here's the thing: the women's division is still developing, but I think in 115 there's great competition. In 135, no competition.
No.
125, Valentina's. I don't see anyone beating her anytime soon. Yeah, arguably. Yeah, you could make an argument between her and Amanda. What the hell? Nunes.
Yeah.
You could make an argument between Nunes. I mean, obviously she's a GOAT, but Valentina's a strong second.
They fought twice, 135. I thought Valentina won the second one, but it's I don't think that'll be a fight she's taking. Nunes is in mom mode now.
Yeah,
she's kind of checked out.
Is she done? Because I know they took away the 145 division after her last fight with Megan Anderson.
Megan, yeah.
Shout out to Factory X. Yeah, I know they dropped the 145 division. I don't know if she's still fighting.
It'd be bantamweight if anything. I haven't heard any bantamweight fights in a while though. Yeah. I know Miesha Tate's coming back. It's all I know.
They might have just paid her to come back and be like, "You want to fight Amanda again?"
Might as well.
Yeah. There's no one. I don't see anyone else coming up in that division either. The 115's always just been stacked, but now there's rumblings about the 105 division.
They're bringing atomweight to UFC.
Yeah. So, Laura Senko, UFC commentator.
Yeah.
So she had made a post saying that she was getting ready for an atomweight fight, and I was just like, okay.
An Invicta or
no for UFC.
Okay.
So the UFC is introducing that. Invicta. Callie brought this up the other day. Invicta had a show, and we had no idea that it was coming up at all, and they only had 6 fights on it. So as much as Invicta had always been like a really great promotion for women,
yeah,
they're starting to fall to the wayside, and they're kind of a feeding.
Not kind of, they are
for the UFC.
Yeah, that's where Megan Anderson came from. That's her last 2 opponents came from.
Yeah. But they didn't re-sign her, and they kind of let her go free agent. So I don't know what she's doing now. I don't know if she's going to go over to Bellator, if she's going to go to ONE FC or whatnot. But yeah, Megan's good, but she's not like dangerous like a Cyborg. Like,
no.
Nunes.
That's not a fight for her. Her Cyborg would take her head.
Cyborg was able to get it done. I think she had like 15 seconds left and finished her.
Yeah.
But again, there's no one for Cyborg to fight either. Those divisions still need to develop with fighters. PFL is looking good for the 145 for women's. They have this blonde beast. I forgot what her name was.
The judoka. She won a gold medal for the U.S.
She won 2 of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel horrible. I don't know her name. Now I'm sitting here stumbling over it.
Yeah, but she's in that tournament. Shout out to Laura Sanchez.
Kayla, is it Kayla Harris?
I was gonna say Kara Harris or Harrison.
Kayla, yeah, I think it's Kayla Harrison.
Yeah.
Sorry if it's not.
Yeah, my apologies.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was gonna be talking PFL.
Yeah.
But yeah, Laura Sanchez. Yeah, Laura Sanchez is in that group.
Clarissa Shields had her first fight on Best Friday.
She followed the girl on Instagram, and I forgot what her name is.
Yeah, and the women's lightweight, 155 for women, actually. Yeah. PFL.
I was talking to Kush about that, and he was explaining to me like the women's 155 division is nothing like the men's 155 division. 155 division for men's is stacked, but he is essentially explained to me, he's like the 155 for women's is kind of like heavyweight for men. He's just like those girls just hit hard, and you take a look at like a girl like Kayla Harris. I hope that's her. Kayla Harris. We'll just call her Kayla. From PFL, that's a girl who has amazing takedown ability because of the fact that she's a judo player, 2-time gold medalist, and that's a girl that still hits hard too. She gets that side control and she just starts smashing chicks. I think she finished her last fight via armbar. I watched it.
It is Kayla Harrison, by the way.
Harrison? Okay, yeah. Yeah, there's not there's girls in these divisions that are just scary, but it's kind of like boxing. They're all in their own other promotions.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get them all to fight together. I will say this, unifying, shout out to little Sergio Pettis. I shouldn't call him little. The guy's a fucking beast.
Well, he's the man now.
Yeah, he's fighting in Bellator, has the 135 title. And then they're talking about unifying it with Ryzen. So he's gonna fight the champion of Ryzen. I think he's doing this in July or August. Yeah, in a cross promotion.
It's like a WWE thing.
Well, it's not like, I think Ryzen's owned by Viacom.
I don't know. It could be.
I'd have to look into the details of it. You know what? Maybe I'll just have Sergio come on. I'll be like, hey, dude, come on before you fight. Explain all this shit to me, would you?
Spill some beans.
Yeah, explain to me how this shit works.
There's
But no,
beans somewhere.
actually, I totally forgot to plug it. The last time we were on, he won. Shout out to him. Yeah, Bellator. We covered a little bit of everything. I'm all over the board today.
Yeah, we all. Yeah, absolutely love it.
Well, that was the fun part about this, is that I was just like, we're going to talk about a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Little fights here, little fights there. Little road trip into Green Bay.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Chicago Nick and I were blessed upon each other. We were introduced to each other by Joe Katz from
It was
the High
Wes. You were Wes's boy first.
Yeah, because like I would come and I'd watch the games with him over at the Highbury back in the day, and he was just like, he's like, you're a United fan? He's like, you're hanging with us. And I was like, all right, Wes Mooney. And then I'd hang out with him, and then everyone would start singing the Wes Mooney song.
Yeah. God, that guy.
Dude, shout out to Wes Mooney. We got to send him a copy of this episode and be like,
Sure.
He'll be like, bro, you're shooting me out, man.
Well, the first time we hung out, you got it. So we're taking the bus. It was the biggest fire match in 10 years, non-playoff bound, because what happened was Freddie Lundberg got signed by the Fire, huge Arsenal legend. Thierry Henry got signed by New York Red Bulls. Mm-hmm. Him and Alan Shearer, the first two players to be inducted in the Premier League Hall of Fame. So obviously one of the greatest footballers, one of the greatest French footballers of all time, one of the greatest Premier League players of all time, inarguably, pains me to say it. Mm-hmm. He gets signed by New York Red Bulls. The Red Bulls are playing the Fire. There's talk that Henry might actually get on the pitch. He was with him cleared for medical, et cetera, but Lundberg was there, whatever. So Joe organizes a coach bus to go on the Fire game. You showed up on your Harley with your yellow goggles on and your riding gloves that had spikes across the knuckle bed. You get like fourth row in the back left corner, and you pass completely out. And all of us like, who's this fucking guy sleeping in the back? That bus ride was unhinged. We were stuck in traffic from the moment we hit Racine to the border because a car flipped off the road. Mm-hmm. Joe generously gave us like 10 cases of Pabst and like 5 bottles of Jameson and a bottle of this stuff called Baron Yager. If you've never had Baron Yager before, it's a honey liqueur that if served chilled, tastes like cold sap. It's some weird shit that we drank all the time at like 4 a.m. at the pub, making shots before matches. We go through all that before we cross the goddamn border to Illinois. We had the bus driver pull over in some like rinky-dink liquor store in Bridgeport, Illinois, which is not a nice area, by the way. We had the Fire match, park the bus, and then just proceed to plow through all of that, hanging out the Section 8 tailgate. Then we go to the game. Then we head back on the bus. God knows what happened at the game. I couldn't tell you what the result was. I don't remember. You and I happened to buy the same flags.
Yeah.
With Stewie on them because from the supporters group, Section 8. And then it just, to hell with the spiral from there for some reason.
So I remember at one point, because I'd gotten on the bus and I went directly into the back and I passed out.
Yeah.
And people were like, what the fuck's with this guy being passed out, so on and so forth. And Wes was like, dude, leave him the fuck alone. And they're like, what the fuck? Like someone kept trying to put a beer in my hand.
Probably.
I kept like shoving whoever it was. And Wes is like, dude, leave him the fuck alone. He's going to wake up and beat the shit out of you. And Wes knew me. He knew my background, so on and so forth. What no one knew was the fact that I think Joe had texted me at like 4 a.m. and was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm up drinking." I think I was waiting for Zads to open up. He's like, "Go catch a nap. We're going to Chicago." And I was like, "All right, sounds good." So I literally woke up, jumped on my bike because I didn't know where my car was.
Yeah.
Jumped on my bike, took it to the Highbury, and like literally gave Joe like $50 or whatever it was to get on the bus, and hopped on. And I was just like, "Yo, I'm gonna go pass out for a couple hours before this game." So when everyone was singing and cheering and whatnot, I slept clean through it. I woke up in Chicago, got off the bus, and I think you handed me a beer, and you're like, "You're friends with Wes? We're cool." And I was like, "All right, man."
That sounds all right, yeah.
We got off the bus, and you made me shotgun a beer, and I was like, "All right, cool."
That sounds all right, yeah.
And then you're like, "Have you ever been here before?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "I've never been to a Chicago Fire game." So having you and Wes as like kind of like my liaisons, you're like, "Okay, we want to go over here. This guy has like elk burgers and like this, that, and the other."
Oh yeah, it was the Section 8 tailgate. Yeah, 'cause I at that point in time I had season tickets for like a decade.
So walking around with you and Wes, it was like, all right, we want to go do this. We got to go say hi to Peter Wilt. We got to go do shots with him, so on and so forth.
Peter.
And that's where I actually met Peter the first time. Actually, shout out to Peter. He's going to be here in 2 weeks.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go over how the Chicago Fire started and then talk to him.
That's a story from him about what happened to him with that.
Yeah.
That was not good.
And then I want to talk to him about Madison, Indianapolis, and all the other teams that he started across the Midwest.
And the invention of the Schlapst.
The Schlapst?
You know about Schlapst?
I'm unfamiliar.
There's literally a shirt that they sold at the Highbury School that says the Schlapst.
I never understood what that was about.
It was Milwaukee's Black and Tan.
Oh, okay.
So it's a mixture of 3 of the trash beers of the planet. It's Schlitz, PBR, and Blatz. All Milwaukee born beers. And instead of like a Black and Tan, which is half Harp, half Guinness, he would do the bottom half. Again, you can ask him about the recipe because it was very delicate. I saw him in the back room by the back window of the Highbury perfecting this one day, just getting flatlining with like, there's like 10 cans of Blatz, 10 tall boys of Schlitz, and like 5 PBR cans around him, perfecting this recipe of like 1/3 PBR, like another third of Schlitz, and like a dash of Blatz, inventing the Schlapst. Whatever. Joe had on special for like $1 one time because like I just got to get rid of the stock.
Yeah.
So we're all drinking Schlaps in Peter Wilt's honor one time at some match. I don't know. We can be here for a day and a half speaking about the night that Bayern Munich played. It was not Tel Aviv. Who's the team that Stoudemire played for in Israel? It's the best football team in Israel. I feel bad now. They have like a football team. They also have like a basketball team. It was Bayern Munich against like the Israeli champions in the Champions League, and Joe called it. Oh man, I feel so bad. I can't remember the name of this team. So Joe, we know, is a Jewish man, and he brought in a menorah and a bunch of yarmulkes for me and Ike to wear, and we're drinking we're spinning the dreidel. And he called it, it was like Berlin versus like the team in Israel, like the second coming. His parents came in for the match. And we're drinking and having the greatest time, like singing Hava Nagila, just having time of our lives. And then like all the Bayern Munich fans are loving it. Joe's loving it. All like his parents like, these people are crazy. Like, yeah, we're just having the time of our life. And Joe's like, we love it so much. Like this like non-Jewish people being Jewish fans. It was just a lot of fun. But yeah, so like there's so many of those wild days of just God knows what the hell happened. But yeah, that was that fire match. That was the impetus of everything.
Yeah, and that's kind of where everything started between us because it was me, you, and Wes in the Section 8, up in the Section 8 area for the fan section, and they have this huge flag that like they brought up from the front row.
The tifo, yeah, went up to the top, always the top of the rows, yeah.
And Wes and I decided to use it as a good cover to smoke weed. So,
yeah, cool. They had it in the entire the anthems. Yeah,
yeah. So everyone's singing and we're just passing the bowl back and forth and geeking our asses off. And then there was some dude in a Fernando Torres jersey that was sitting right in front of us, who we managed to harass the entire time.
Oh yeah,
this had to be 2007 or
Maccabi
2000.
Haifa was a team. My fault.
I was looking it up and I couldn't figure out who.
Maccabi Haifa.
Yeah. But yeah, after that we ended up getting the supporters scarves. We got a bunch of photos taken together and stuff like that, and then I would just run into you randomly at the Highbury, and it was one of those, well, hey dude, do you want to go drink? And it would be like, let's go to Vitucci's on a Thursday night and see what the fuck's happening. Perhaps we can find a tall girl in a jean skirt.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Which,
And then pay off the DJ who was singing karaoke to not play Pour Some Sugar on Me for the 9,000th time.
it was girls, girls,
Whatever
girls.
it was, the most shitty
That-
single mom song.
Wait, did we hit a? We had to have hit a. I think that was the day that we hit the Brewers game beforehand.
No. Brewers game was.
Oh no, it was the next day.
It was the next day. Yeah. No. But the day before that was the month before Chicharito got signed by United, and then it was you, me, and Silky Pete and Ike wore ponchos and sombreros and fake mustaches, and we were slamming Modelo's. And those twins, those Mexican guys that hung out at the pub all the time.
I just saw one of them the other day. Yeah,
They came in and we were going nuts because they were like hyped that there was like this like awesome Mexican player in the Premier League, and we were just slamming tequila because Joe, his shot was Casadores.
Yeah.
So we were drinking shots of Casadores and slamming Modelo's, wearing totally appropriating the Mexican culture. Those guys were loving it. Everyone's having a great time.
Yeah.
And just singing like for Chicharito playing. That was the first time he played was the Community Shield against Chelsea, and he kicked the ball off his face and went in the goal.
Yeah.
That was his first game for United.
Well, his first game with United was the MLS All-Star game.
The tour, the summer tour.
The tour.
Yeah.
And they gave him the ball right off, like, I think the first pass, and like within 40 seconds he ran up the pitch and just fucking scored. And I had seen there was rumors that Chicharito was going to get signed to United. I remember watching him play in the World Cup that summer, and in the World Cup he was lights out.
Yeah.
I think he had like 3 or 4 goals during the World Cup, and I was like, we signed this fucking guy. It's like he's one, and they had clocked him. He was one of the fastest players.
Oh yeah.
For the World Cup, for any of the teams, he ran like the fastest 40 or some shit like that. And I was like, oh shit, we signed this guy? I was like, fuck yeah. And then I saw him in the MLS game, and I was like, dude, this guy just scored a goal in 40 seconds against the MLS All-Stars in Dallas. And then that was the day that he made his debut with United, or I should say in the EPL, where that had to be the beginning of the season. Because it wasn't a mid-season transfer. Yeah, because it was summertime.
Yeah. No. His first game was a Community Shield against Chelsea. He came out as a super sub.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, but United always uses the World Cup as like a farm system. That's how we signed Ronaldo. It was in 06 when he had his first start for Portugal in the 06 World Cup, and then he was still playing with Sporting Lisbon, and we signed him that summer.
Do you think he's going back to United?
Yeah. It's going to be a Pogba plus cash for it's going to be a Pogba plus cash for Ronaldo.
Is Ronaldo going to go midfield then? Because, well, actually, you know what? In the midfield area, we don't really need Pogba anymore.
He'll be on the left, and Rashford will be on the right. Ooh. And Bruno up the middle. And then Martial will probably get demoted. Lingard's going to get permanently transferred to West Ham like he should because he has a lot of time there. And Martial, my favorite player, unfortunately, just keeps getting hurt and can't keep form. I don't know who else.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. The United team's super young. McTominay,
youngest in the Prem.
Yeah. McTominay's got a lot of potential. Dude, Daniels is fucking fast. Dude.
Daniel James?
Yeah.
Yes. Very, very fast.
He's fast. I like him.
He actually had a good game the other day. Who did Wales play? They lost. But he had a really good game.
They played France.
Yeah, he had a good game for Wales.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, that Christian Eriksen thing was fucking crazy. We were talking about that before the podcast.
Yeah. It's unfortunate stuff. He's probably not going to play again. That's he won't get medically cleared. He was dead. He was dead.
Yeah, they were
before the game CPR. He was out.
They were doing chest compressions on the field. Vin Cannavaro talked to me about that last night from Red Bull, and I knew about what happened, that he had collapsed on the pitch and whatnot, and I didn't hear what the verdict was, and he's like, yeah, he had a fucking heart attack.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a genetic thing or what the deal was, or supplements, or, you never want to see that. I was watching the replay today, and they just said, he just collapsed, and it was because of lack of oxygen to the brain, and that's what had happened. And then when they found out they didn't have a pulse, they started doing compressions on the side of the pitch. A player legally or technically being dead is nothing you ever want to see.
No.
Shout out to that team though. They went on the pitch. Was that yesterday or today?
It was yesterday. Yeah, they played Finland. They lost. They shouldn't have played that game.
Yeah. They still came out and shit like that, and crowd was up on their feet showing love and respect. But you never want to see that. Danish, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Danish. But yeah, man, that's tough. But the Euros are going on.
Euros, it's the best international like continent tournament. I'm sorry, no one cares about CONCACAF except maybe 10 people. Common Bowl has its moments. African Cup of Nations is fun. No one watches the Oceanic Cup. No one watches the Asian Cup. It's all about Euro. Everyone knows that. I'm sorry. It just is.
I was gonna hold out to talk to Peter about this. What was your take on that whole Super League thing a couple of weeks ago?
I don't know what even happened. All I know is that a bunch of like I guess Juve and Barca and somebody else and Inter are getting fined like 20 million euro and like possibly a points deduction. It made it sound like they want to have like an all-star league with like the best teams in Europe. Mm-hmm. Because I personally love watching young boys play Dortmund and like Hertha Berlin somehow sneak in the Champions League and play like PSV Eindhoven or CSKA Moscow play like Panathinaikos. I think those matches are great. I don't want to see Juve play City every year and Arsenal play Berlin every year. It's just like, that's like watching basketball in the 80s. It was the Celtics and Lakers every single year. That's the whole beauty of the Champions League. Is same thing with the FA Cup. Like this past year, like there were 3 teams from the 5th division that made it to the 6th round.
Yeah,
that's the FA Cup. Like Arsenal got knocked out, which good by the way. Arsenal got knocked out like in the 3rd round. Good, like by some like 4th division team. That's the beauty of it. You never any given game. I don't want an all-star club league. It's just like these guys. Think about it in 1 year. So this past year. Well, okay, cancel this year. 2019. Who will be a good player to have an example for? Let's go with Rashford. There you go, Rashford. So for United, he plays the Premier League, the Carabao Cup, what the fuck that is, the FA Cup, Champions League, international friendlies, and World Cup qualifying, and European League of Nations. That's 7 leagues he's playing in the same time. Mm-hmm. I'm going to add in like an 8th. Like these guys, like this next coming summer, because of the World Cup qualifying, they're going to have like a 1-month holiday and then back to the Prem. It's like, geez. I mean, who's just like the person at FIFA who's scheduling this? Good on them.
I thought with the Super League, those teams are leaving the EPL to go play in this league permanently, and that's
they'd be leaving UEFA.
Oh, they'd be leaving UEFA.
So
okay.
they would, and they even if they finish top 4 in their respective leagues, whether it's Serie A or
EPL,
Ligue 1 or the Bundesliga, they would leave. They would not qualify for UEFA, meaning like instead of say the top 4 for the EPL is like City, United, Arsenal, Chelsea, and they all went to the Super League. Whoever was 5th would go to the Champions League.
Yeah.
No, that's just silly. But whatever.
Yeah, I thought they were leaving EPL. That's why I was like, ugh. I was like, I don't know. Here's the thing for me. I love United, but like I also love watching the EPL. So it was one of those that was like, I was concerned about the fact that I was like, well, I'm not going to see West Ham play United. I'm not going to see all these teams.
Right. Yeah. No. They would still play the EPL, but they wouldn't play in the European Championship.
Okay.
They'd have like their own side championship of what arguably are always quote unquote the last 8 teams every year. The Real Madrids, the Atletico Madrids, PSG, Inter, Bayern Munich, Ajax once in a while. Like those types of teams would always play like their own tournament off to the side, which is the dumbest thing.
I was going to say
it's a money grab.
Did PSG and AC Milan finally bow out of that? Because the last I heard, they hadn't.
I think they're like the last man standing for some reason. Then they're getting hit pretty hard by UEFA for fines. I think. Again, once United thankfully pulled out of that even conversation, I was very happy, and I kind of tuned out afterwards. To be honest with you. Same. Because I just kept hearing that like other teams were still signed. I was like, I thought when the English teams bowed out, I thought everyone was done. But apparently there was still a couple of people that were hanging on to it. Yeah, man, it's crazy. But Euros are looking good. I'm excited to see how the rest of this goes. I'm gonna miss whatever matches are going on tomorrow. I'm gonna do a kayak trip. Nice.
Shout out to Uncle Dave. He's in town from Santa Barbara, so I'm gonna get Matt Olson and the crew together, and we're gonna do probably a 6-7 hour kayak trip.
Cool.
Then grab some food afterwards. What else was I gonna bring up? Oh yeah, I was gonna bring up some stories. We're gonna bring up some stories. One of my favorite road trips ever was we went up to Green Bay and we watched the greatest show on turf, the Women's Laundry Egg Football League.
No, it was called the Legends Football League, wasn't it? Or was it lingerie?
I thought it was the lingerie. It was on MTV2. That's the only thing I remember about it.
At ESPN the Ocho.
It was on ESPN the Ocho and
Oh,
MTV2,
man.
and friends of mine were texting me going, "Are you guys in the end zone?" I went, "Yeah." And they're like,
we are.
"Like we can see you guys, and you guys look visibly hammered," which we were. We started
We were tailgating at an LFA game, man.
like legit.
NFL, whatever.
I think we were the only people tailgating that. It was me, you, Reverend Sean, who I think we got the tickets from. I think one of the girls from Silk. I don't even know if I was supposed to. I don't think I was supposed to say that, but whatever.
Say what? I don't know.
I think I think she was a receiver or she was a running back. She was one of the dancers at Silk, and he had gotten tickets from her. And then we went up to Green Bay and we went and watched this, and we tailgated right by Lambeau Field.
Yeah, the parking lot next to their their practice field
Yeah.
at the Pepsi Center.
So we were out there grilling. We're killing cases of beer. We're the only people out there. And then, of course, we stumbled into the arena where I think we were all of like 300 people.
Yeah, I mean it was. I mean it wasn't that low, but I know what you're saying. It was definitely not a packed house. It was the Green Bay Chill versus the Minnesota.
Whatever.
I don't know, Minnesota
Something.
Lady Vikings. I don't know what it was.
I couldn't even
also-
tell you if Green Bay won the game or not. I was browned out for most of the game. I was doing my best to cheer on who I thought were the Green Bay Chill.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, shout to Zach DJ DeVille. He was playing up in Green Bay that night, so we went to go see him.
What was that club called? Was that Fire? What was it called? Or Fuego or something? Or
Yeah.
I don't know what that club was called. The place was funny though.
I just remembered there was a couple of things I remembered. I remember because we were listening to a bunch of Hollywood Undead at the time, and I think this was 2008, 2009.
That's because you mixed that video of those guys dressed as fast food mascots having like a party out in the night.
Rad Omen.
To that song, and I was like, what is this music? This is awesome. And that was my introduction to Hollywood Undead.
Yeah.
And there's like a guy in a Ronald McDonald costume doing lines of blow with a guy dressed as Wendy. And you mixed Coming In Hot by Hollywood Undead over the top of that. And I was like, what? I wasn't sure if I was awake or dreaming or what the hell was going on. But it was unmitigated, unadulterated fun and hilarity. And then that song somehow translated into my anthem for the evening. I couldn't even tell you. I don't know. The spirit just took hold of me. I don't know what it was.
And I'm pulling it up right now.
It was just, yeah. Yeah. It was so bizarre. Yeah. The guy's like,
I
popping.
can't do the audio. I'll get flagged by YouTube. But
Yeah.
Randon, go wide shot for me, would you? Thanks, homie. Yeah. So that's Simon Rex.
Yeah.
I forgot who that is, but it's
There's the Burger King.
it's all the fast food guys.
Colonel
Ronald
Sanders.
McDonald.
Yeah. It's Colonel Sanders. Yeah.
Like Cassidy.
The Jack in the